You're watching ABC News 24. Hello, I'm Kim Landers. We're breaking into programming to go live to Sydney, where the Communications Minister Malcolm Turnbull is about to make some comments about the NBN.
Today we are announcing the first step to implement the Coalition's broadband policy that will ensure that we are able to complete the national broadband network sooner, more affordably for consumers and at less cost to taxpayers. The Finance Minister, Senator Cormann, and I have today issued an interim statement of expectations to the company as the first step in implementing these changes. That interim statement will guide the NBN Co's construction and operational activities pending changes to the board and while a strategic review and independent audit of the project is carried out and a new NBN Co corporate plan is drafted. The interim statement instructs the NBN Co to continue to roll out the network as rapidly and cost-effectively as possible throughout this process. In the short term, the interim statement will see the NBN Co meet its contractual obligations by continuing to roll out fibre to the premises while the company conducts the strategic review of the project. The NBN Co, I should note, has recently advised the government that it is proposing to revise its rollout target for premises passed by fibre by 30 June next year, down by almost half from the forecast made 4 months ago in June. The interim statement provides NBN Co with the flexibility to use a wider range of technologies to connect businesses and homes to the network. For example, this will allow the NBN Co to trial the latest VDSL technology to deliver superfast broadband to homes and businesses in multi-dwelling units such as apartments and office blocks. A key priority will be to reduce the backlog of 66,000 premises passed by the NBN fibre network which cannot currently obtain a service. This includes the majority of apartments, schools and businesses in areas where the fibre network has been rolled out. Under the interim statement of expectations, construction will be completed in areas containing 300,000 premises where construction contracts have been signed. Detailed network design is underway in areas containing a further 645,000 premises. In geographic areas where NBN Co is in a position to hand over final designs to its construction partners, some of these sites may see construction work begin shortly. There are also more than 900,000 premises listed on the one-year rollout plan on the NBN website where only preliminary network design work is underway. Decisions about actual construction in these areas will be taken after the reviews into the NBN rollout are completed. These decisions will ensure there is a steady flow of work on the NBN until well into 2014. This will provide certainty for contractors and ensure they do not have to demobilise workforces. We expect this period of review will lead to revisions to the timing of the rollout and to updated forecasts. It's important to bear in mind, however, that the NBN rollout has to date repeatedly missed its targets. It is our goal, following the completion of the review and a new corporate plan, to see the NBN Co set realistic rollout targets and then consistently deliver on them. Do you have any questions?
During the campaign you mentioned a statement of expectations on the NBN. Is this the same thing?
This is the statement of expectations is, yes, that is the document that the government provides to the NBN Co as to what it expects it to do, and we've issued a revised statement of expectations today, which is we've described as an interim statement of expectations because it is set out to be pending the review. And if perhaps I can take you through a few points there. We've said here in this letter to the Chairman, Siobhan McKenna, we advise the goals of the transition period should be: 1, to avoid service disruption for consumers; 2, minimise impact on the construction industry and employment with the objective of a smooth as possible change to the new approach; and 3, achieve the less costly and speedier rollout objectives as seamlessly as possible. And then in terms of continuing work, we've advised that the NBN Co should continue deploying the fixed wireless network, but in doing so take into account the very likely availability of fixed-line broadband technology via VDSL in smaller communities not currently in the fibre fixed-line footprint. These are communities with less than 1,000 premises. 2, to offer services over the interim satellite service. 3, to continue work associated with the build and launch of the long-term satellites. To continue construction of the transit network and points of interconnect. To continue the development of special services, enterprise services and so on, and to continue to deploy fibre to new development areas. That's some of the key points of that letter.
How long do you expect this strategic review to take?
Well, our goal is to complete it in 60 days. So that's obviously 60 days from a change of management at the NBN Co.
And who will conduct the review?
It's intended that the review will be conducted by the company, so it will be owned, if you like, by the board of the NBN Co, but it will, and owned by the company, but it obviously will have the input of experts and advisors. But it is not my intention to have a firm of consultants produce a review that is not owned by the people that then have to live with it and execute it.
Is it true the board's being replaced, and if so, who's going to be there to actually do the review or to handle the review?
Well, I'm glad you've asked me about that. I can just confirm to you that I did request, the government did request the directors to offer their resignations, and all but one of them did so. That they have not resigned, however, they are continuing directors. That request should not be regarded as any criticism of any of the directors, least of all of its chairman, Siobhan McKenna, who's done a very difficult, conducted herself in a very difficult job in very testing circumstances, or indeed of its chief executive, Mr Quigley, who, as you know, is already prior to the change of government, tendered his resignation. The reason for that was simply to give the government complete flexibility in remaking the board in light of its new policy agenda, and that is, decisions about the board will be taken by the Cabinet in due course. And while I'm sure you'll want me to tell you who I think is going to be on the board and speculate about all sorts of eminent individuals, I will disappoint you in that regard.
Siobhan McKenna is not likely to be in charge when this strategic...
I really don't... I've said all I'm prepared to say about the personalities of the board.
When will the new directors be appointed?
You can expect there will be changes made to the board by the government in due process following the next... they'll be announced following the next cabinet meeting.
Okay, but will it be... So it will be inside the 60 days of the review period?
Well, the review period cannot begin until there is until there's a change of the board. So the 60 days will start running from then.
How can a person who is scheduled to get the NBN in the next, say, year go and determine whether they're actually going to get the full fibre service now?
Well, where construction is currently contracted is actually, that's to say, when I say construction, I mean building, physical work, if you like, in the field. That work will be completed. We will. This is a company that's obviously in a state of transition. There's a lot of people have been promised broadband services by the NBN Co in time frames that have not been delivered. So we don't propose to make any changes to that or any further promises or commitments until we are absolutely satisfied they are going to be correct. You know, there is a big difference between telling people you're planning to deliver fibre optic cable to their premises and actually doing so. And there's been, again, I'm not here to make criticisms of the NBN Co. There've been a lot of extenuating circumstances at different times, and it is a very difficult and complex project. And I think the difficulty and complexity of it was probably underestimated at the outset. But again, that's not my job. That's the strategic review will be looking at all those things. But this is a process of transition, and we will keep Australians updated with it, with the progress of it, as more information comes to hand.
In terms of the process that you're going through, will you be using Eon Zender again to find new directors?
Well, we will certainly be looking at. We'll be looking for new additional non-executive directors. That's true. I don't want to comment on the identity of consultants, particular consultants.
But you will be using some consultants?
Well, David, you know, typically people do, but again, that's the choice of we are looking very widely at the question of non-executive directors, and the company will no doubt look very widely at executives where gaps in the executive management need to be filled. Obviously, a new chief executive has to be hired, and that will be a thorough search process.
The operating costs ballooned from 500 million to about 1 billion in the past year. On what basis was that? What was the main driver of that cost?
Look, I don't want to run a commentary on the NBN Co's accounts. You know, at this stage, we are going to conduct a strategic review to make sure that we have the most accurate and detailed figures about the state of the rollout and the financial state of the company. And so I really, you know, I don't want to be giving a running commentary on the company's numbers.
Well, just regarding the releasing of the NBN reports, will the government commit to releasing all future NBN Co reports or forecasts?
Well, part of our policy is that there will be. The answer is, we will ensure that the NBN Co is as transparent, or indeed more transparent, as a public listed company. We will ensure that there are published weekly figures on the progress of the rollout, and as I've said to NBN staff today, I'm not interested in being given information that people may think will conform to my particular political agenda, whatever they may imagine that to be. We want from NBN Co nothing more or less than the plain, unvarnished facts. I'm not making any criticism of anybody here, by the way. Let me be clear about that too. But what we need in the future is the facts. It's always nice to get good news. I'm interested in the news, the facts, the true news, what's actually happening. I'm not interested in just being told, you know, being given figures that you know, people may imagine would conform with our agenda. So this strategic review is going to be a very, very rigorous and objective exercise in getting to the facts of the matter, so that, as you know, the goal of the strategic review is principally the following: to ascertain what it will really cost in dollars and what it will really take in years and months to complete the project on the current specifications, and then to assess what options there are to reduce that cost and time by using different techniques, different technologies. As you know, as everyone knows, we've canvassed an example of that in our policy document. But let me say again, as I've said to NBN staff today, I am, and the government is, thoroughly open-minded. We are not dogmatic about technology. Technology is not an ideological issue. We are completely agnostic about it. What we want to do is get the best result for taxpayers and consumers as soon as possible.
Do you contemplate expanding the interim satellite solution longer term, and will that factor into this interim policy here?
That no doubt will be considered in the course of the strategic review, but I don't want to preempt that the work on that.
Will you release the June 2030 draft corporate plan?
You mean well, it was released to the Australian Financial Review apparently, so that's where we learned about it. So I see your colleague from the AFR has got the broadest grin. So well, it's essentially of historical interest only, and I think what we'll do is we'll wait till the. I mean, it is literally of historical interest only, because it's been superseded by events. But I don't see much downside in doing that. But let me say, once the changes to the board have been made, we'll speak to the company about that. But my preference, my bias is to be completely open about this. But I don't think there's much in it. If there's anything in it that's newsworthy, it's been pretty well picked over already.
So, in terms of the new director, I know you don't want to name personalities.
Yeah.
What type of skill sets are you looking for in the new director?
Well, David, I can only go back to what I've said. I mean, I have never criticised any of the individuals on that board. They're all very capable people, and I, for the work they've done, it's been, we owe them a debt of gratitude for that. But in terms of a board for a project like this, certainly telecommunications experience, management experience, experience in the construction of linear infrastructure is clearly very relevant. Those two particular, backgrounds were not present in the among the directors of the NBN Co that the Labor Party assembled. So again, they're all very good people, but it's a question of getting the right mix and getting the right chemistry. So bear with us. It's early days. Just watch this space, and the cabinet will make some decisions about this shortly.
At what point do you start talking to Telstra about getting that access to the full copper network?
Soon, and we've already had preliminary discussions, but that's again something that will begin in earnest once we have a new board and some new management, and we're able to assemble the NBN Co /government team to enter into those discussions.
There were some major concerns from contractors over the past year or so not being able to speak publicly, being gagged. Will the government or NBN Co change its position and allow contractors to speak out to the media if they do have problems or issues, or will it take action that's been threatened before?
Well, we'll review that with the management. I mean, there are often confidentiality clauses in contractors' agreements, and which of course protect both sides. But that's something we'll certainly look at. I think again, I don't want to. I'm the communications minister. I'm not the new chief executive of NBN Co. I recognise that if and when things go wrong, the buck will stop, or the blame will stop with me. I understand that. I know I've got the ultimate responsibility for it, but I don't want to be making on the run decisions that are really a matter for management. But we do. Our focus is to have a much greater level of transparency and openness. I know there's a lot of politics associated with the broadband issue, but much more than there ever ought to have been. And there's been a huge amount of misinformation and spin about broadband and what various technologies can offer. And so, my focus and my commitment is to ensure that we deal in fact. Fact, not fiction, no more spin, fact. That's what Australians need to know so they can make informed decisions.
When will you call for a cost benefit analysis?
Sorry?
When will you call for a cost benefit?
Yeah, that is one of the reviews, and that will be, again, that will be initiated shortly. Well, again, that'll be a decision for the Cabinet, and we're certainly looking at options. Clearly, it's got to be an independent inquiry. We're looking at a number of different options for that.
Who do you want to do it?
I've just told you we're looking at different options for it, and obviously different individuals, but that's something that will be announced in due course. As Tony Abbott has said many times, we are going to operate a very traditional cabinet government. This is not going to be like the Rudd and Gillard governments where, decisions are plucked out of thin air and on the run. So establishing an inquiry like this is a decision for the Cabinet. I will take a submission to the Cabinet in due course, and that will be, discussed with my colleagues, and we will make a decision. It'll be a collective decision of the government. So it's not something I'm in a position to announce it. But you can be guided by our policy, which we said it will be an independent inquiry. Okay, just one more perhaps.
The recent update that NBN Co gave you, there's a table provided. Were there any other figures? Did they give you any costs?
Yeah, there are some other figures, but the cost there. Let me put it this way: I would not have the confidence to provide you with cost figures about connection costs. There's a degree of what should we say, uncertainty about what it is actually costing NBN Co to pass and connect premises, and this is one of the things we've got to get to the bottom of. So, you know, I'm not here to, I can't stand here and warrant to you figures of the NBN Co. The reason we're having a strategic review done is so that we can be absolutely rigorously satisfied that the numbers that NBN Co is producing, and, you know, on behalf of the government, which is of course its shareholder, are absolutely accurate.
What's that disparity based on? Why do you think NBN Co may not be correct?
Look, Jake, I really don't want to go into this. It's a long debate. It'll be subject to the strategic review. I know everybody wants me to preempt the work of this review, but we've got to have respect for the board as it's reconstituted, and new management, and the work that they're going to do. So, you know what? Again, my message to the NBN Co now and in the months ahead is that what we want is the plain, unvarnished facts. We want to get to the facts, the truth of the matter. We want to know what this project is really going to cost, and how long it's really going to take, and and we want, you know, sensible, prudent, conservative estimates, not numbers that forecasts that look good at a press conference and then, you know, fall away a few months later when it's realised they can't be reached. You know, we've got to get back. It's got to be a lot less politics in this project, and a lot more hard-headed, practical business and management. That's what we need. I mean, I know I'm a politician, but my commitment is to make this project as non-political as possible, so that we make our decisions as rational people would, based on cost of deployment, time of deployment, service level offered by different technologies, what utility they have to consumers, what they're prepared to pay for them, and all of those, you know, obvious criteria that tend to get lost in the, you know, waves of often, I have to say, pretty ill-informed commentary, to which I'm afraid to say the previous government contributed and amplified that misinformation mightily. Okay. Thanks for.
You know, you're talking about the plain, unvarnished facts. You've released one set of figures, another set of figures.
Well, what figures do you want to? What do you want to know?
Talking about the connection, the cost.
I do not know what it is costing the NBN Co to connect premises, Jake. I don't know that. I don't know. I do not know what those figures are, and that is what the strategic review will find out. You've basically asked me to tell you what the results of the strategic review will be, and if I knew the answer, I wouldn't have the review. So, on that note, penetrating glimpse of the obvious, as my father-in-law would say, I will bid you all a good afternoon. Thanks very much.